Your grandmother didn't fall. That bruise on her arm, it wasn't clumsiness. It was a cry for help from her own body. And chances are, no one's listening. I've seen this too many times in my 20 years as a doctor. A senior walks into my clinic, tired, sore, maybe a little off balance. Family thinks it's just old age. But what if it's not? What if it's something silent? Something stealing their strength, their healing, their life, bit by bit. And the worst part? It's completely preventable. Mrs. Chen's story still keeps me up some nights. She nearly lost her independence over a simple deficiency no one noticed in time. I don't want that for your loved one. That's why I'm here, to show you the signs before it's too late, because if you miss them, the consequences could be permanent. I'm Dr. Richard Bennett, and what you'll hear in the next few minutes could save someone's life. By the end of this video, you won't just know the signs of vitamin C deficiency, you'll know how to stop it before it silently takes hold. You'll learn why even experienced doctors miss the warning symptoms and how one overlooked test could be the difference between recovery and decline. I'll break down 9 specific signs from mild clues to medical emergencies. Some will surprise you, others might already be happening to someone you love. And the truth? Most families don't act until it's almost too late. But first, I want to take you inside my clinic. Just a few weeks ago, when Mrs. Chen walked in with tired eyes and slow steps. Her case started like many do. Vague symptoms, dismissed as just getting older. What we found changed everything. Stay with me. Because once you know these signs, you'll never look at senior health the same way again. Mrs. Chen didn't come in for anything major. She said she was just tired, maybe a little weaker than usual. Her daughter thought it was normal for someone her age, but as I looked closer at her skin, her gums, how slowly she moved, I knew something deeper was going on. The tests confirmed it. Severe vitamin C deficiency. She'd been living with it for over 2 years, and no one had caught it. Not her last doctor, not the specialists, no one. And during that time, her body had been slowly breaking down. I've been a geriatric physician for more than 20 years. I've seen hundreds of cases just like this. Seniors with mysterious bruises, slow healing, and constant fatigue, all brushed off as just getting old. But aging isn't supposed to look like this. That's why I'm speaking out. Because this isn't rare anymore. In my clinic, it's becoming an epidemic, and most families don't even see it coming. Sign 1: unexplained bruising. Sign number 1 that I look for in my examinations is unexplained bruising. I'm not talking about a bump after a fall. I mean large, deep purple marks that appear out of nowhere, on the arms, legs, or even the stomach. It often shocks families. They think their loved one must have bumped into something and forgotten. But I've learned that bruising like this is rarely forgetfulness. It's a signal. Vitamin C plays a major role in keeping blood vessels strong. Without it, the tiny vessels under the skin, called capillaries, break easily, even with the lightest pressure. That's why these bruises appear suddenly and in strange places, with no explanation. It's like the body is bleeding underneath without being injured. I remember a patient, Mr. Albright, who came in with bruises that looked like fingerprints on his upper arms. His son was worried someone was hurting him at the care home. The truth was more frightening. It was his body failing silently from the inside. He wasn't being harmed by others. He was being hurt by a deficiency no one had diagnosed. This is where things get dangerous. Most people, including some doctors, shrug off these bruises. He's just old, they say, but aging alone doesn't cause this kind of damage. When I see these marks, I know to dig deeper, because if we miss this clue, things can get much worse. Another patient, Mrs. Duran, had bruises all over her thighs. She hadn't fallen. She hadn't even walked far that week. But she was severely low in vitamin C. Within 2 weeks of starting treatment, the bruises stopped forming. Within 4 weeks, the existing ones faded. It was like watching her body recover in real time. Families are often shocked when I tell them the bruises aren't normal. I explain that without enough vitamin C, collagen, the protein that holds our tissues together, starts to break down. That leads to weak blood vessels, fragile skin, and yes, spontaneous bruising. This is why I stress early detection. These marks are visible. You don't need a lab test to spot them. You just need to look and not ignore what you see. In my experience, bruising is often the first warning sign. It shows up before the fatigue, before the dental issues, before the emergency visits. It's the body waving a red flag. So if someone you care about has unexplained bruises, don't assume. Ask questions. Check their diet. And most of all, don't wait. Because in many cases, that first bruise is just the beginning.
Sign number 2. Slow healing wounds.
Sign number 2 that I diagnose regularly is slow healing wounds, cuts, scrapes, or sores that just won't go away. At first, families don't think much of it. A paper cut that takes a week, a scab that keeps opening up. But to me, as a doctor, these are major warning signs. When I examined Mrs. Chen, I noticed a tiny cut on her finger. I asked how long she'd had it. She said, "Oh, maybe 3 weeks." That was a red flag. Small cuts should heal in days, not linger for weeks. That one little wound told me her body wasn't repairing itself. Vitamin C is essential for collagen production. Collagen is the protein that builds skin, blood vessels, and tissues. Without enough vitamin C, the skin becomes weak and healing slows to a crawl. So even the smallest injury can become a long-lasting problem. I've had patients whose wounds reopened again and again. One gentleman had a spot on his shin that stayed raw for 2 months. He'd tried bandages, ointments, even antibiotics, but no one had tested him for vitamin C levels. When we finally did, it all made sense. He was severely deficient. In seniors, this can lead to serious complications. A small cut can become infected. A blister on the heel can turn into an ulcer. I've seen people hospitalized for what began as a nick from trimming their toenails. That's how quickly it can escalate when the body can't heal. One of the most heartbreaking moments in my clinic came from a woman who said, "I thought my body was just giving up on me." It wasn't. It was begging for something it wasn't getting, vitamin C. Once we began treatment, her wounds healed in under 2 weeks. Her confidence returned. She told me, "I feel like my body finally remembered how to take care of itself." That moment stuck with me. I tell my patients this. Healing is one of the body's most basic functions. If something isn't healing, something deeper is wrong. Don't ignore it. Don't chalk it up to age. Aging is not the enemy. Deficiency is. Slow healing is the kind of thing that sneaks up on people. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't scream, but it whispers that something's off. And if you listen, if you catch it early, you can stop a small issue from becoming a crisis. So if someone you love has a wound that won't heal, don't wait. Get it checked. And always ask, could this be something more? Because often it is.
Sign number 3. Bleeding gums.
Sign number 3 that I always screen for in my clinic is bleeding gums, especially when brushing, eating, or even speaking. It might seem small. Some people think it's just poor dental hygiene or bad dentures. But for me as a doctor, bleeding gums can be a loud signal that something much deeper is going wrong. I remember a man named Mr. Solis. He was in his early 70s and had just gotten new dentures. He told me his gums bled a little every time he brushed. His dentist said it was normal at first, but it wasn't getting better, it was getting worse. When I looked closer, I saw inflamed gums, small tears, and raw patches that didn't match the usual adjustment period for dentures. What most people don't know is that bleeding gums are one of the earliest signs of scurvy, the same vitamin C deficiency disease that once killed sailors on long sea voyages. In modern times, we don't expect to see scurvy, but in seniors, I see mild forms of it all the time. Vitamin C is vital for gum tissue. It keeps the tiny blood vessels strong and supports collagen, which holds your gums to your teeth. Without it, those vessels begin to break, and the tissue starts to tear, even from something as gentle as brushing with a soft toothbrush. When I told Mr. Solis he might be low in vitamin C, he looked surprised. "But I eat salad a few times a week," he said. "That's common. Many older adults think they get enough nutrients. But most don't eat enough fresh fruits and vegetables, and even the ones they do eat may have lost much of their vitamin C during storage or cooking." After we tested his blood levels, the results confirmed my suspicion. He was well below the healthy range. We started him on a supplement plan, and within 10 days the bleeding stopped. By the second week, his gums looked pink and healthy again. It wasn't dental work, it was nutrition. What I've learned is that bleeding gums aren't just a dental issue. They're often a whole-body issue, and in seniors, they can be the first physical sign of something that's been building for months under the surface. So if you or someone you love has gums that bleed regularly, don't wait for a dentist appointment. Don't assume it's the toothbrush. Ask your doctor about vitamin C.
Now, before I tell you the most dangerous signs that send my patients straight to the hospital, there's something you really need to understand. Because this next part explains why so many seniors are suffering, and no one's connecting the dots. You might be thinking, but they eat fruits and vegetables, right? That's exactly what I thought, until I started looking deeper into the food we all depend on. And what I found changed how I treat every patient who walks into my clinic. The truth is, our food today isn't what it used to be. The apples, oranges, and vegetables our grandparents ate had more than twice the vitamin C we get now. Farming practices, shipping delays, and long storage times strip our food of nutrients before it even hits our plate. And that's why the next 3 signs you're about to hear about, the ones that land people in the emergency room, are becoming more common than ever. Sign number 4. Extreme fatigue that doesn't go away. Sign number 4 that I assess in my clinic is extreme fatigue that doesn't go away, even with rest. I'm not talking about being a little tired after a long day. I mean the kind of deep, constant exhaustion that makes walking to the kitchen feel like climbing a mountain. One of my patients, Mrs. Avery, came to see me because she thought she was just slowing down with age. She had stopped going to her weekly bingo nights. She didn't want to walk her dog anymore. She told me, "Doctor, I just feel old." But I could see something else in her eyes. Fear. It wasn't just age. It was something her body couldn't fight on its own. After running some basic tests, everything looked normal. Her iron was fine, her thyroid was okay, but she still felt like her legs were made of sandbags. That's when I ordered a vitamin C test. What most people don't know is that vitamin C helps the body absorb iron. Without enough of it, even people with good diets and healthy iron levels can feel like they have anemia. Their red blood cells may not carry oxygen well. The body runs out of fuel. The brain fog starts. Muscles get heavy. Every step becomes work. Mrs. Avery's test results showed her vitamin C was dangerously low. Once we started a daily supplement, her energy returned like a light switch flipping on. Within 2 weeks, she was walking her dog again and calling her friends to meet up. She told me, "I thought I was fading away. I didn't know I could feel like myself again." Here's the bigger picture I want people to understand. Many seniors don't eat enough fresh fruits and vegetables. Some avoid them because of chewing problems, others forget meals, and some can't afford fresh produce regularly. Combine that with modern farming that gives us nutrient-depleted food, and it's a perfect storm. That's why I always assess for this type of fatigue. I ask questions that most doctors skip. Are you skipping meals? Are you waking up tired, no matter how much sleep you get? If the answer is yes, I don't brush it off. Fatigue is not just a symptom. In older adults, it's often a warning sign, a quiet scream from the body that something important, like vitamin C, is missing. And unless someone is trained to see it, it goes unnoticed. So if someone you love is always tired, don't assume it's just aging. Ask deeper questions. It might be the clue that leads to real healing.
Sign number 5. Joint pain and swelling that doesn't match what we see on X-rays. Sign number 5, from my clinical observations, is joint pain and swelling that doesn't match what we see on X-rays. This one is tricky because it hides in plain sight. The joints ache, the knees hurt, the fingers feel stiff. But when we look at the scans, nothing major shows up. That's the trap. Let me tell you about Mr. Hill. He came into my office complaining that his knees were acting up again. He had trouble walking from his living room to the mailbox. He'd been taking pain meds for months, assuming it was arthritis. But something didn't add up. His scans looked fine for his age. No major joint damage, no inflammation in his blood work. Yet he was in pain every single day. What I've seen again and again is that vitamin C deficiency can cause this kind of joint discomfort. Why? Because vitamin C is vital for building and repairing cartilage and connective tissue. Without it, the cushioning inside our joints breaks down. The tissue becomes weak, inflamed, and sore, even if the bones themselves look fine. Mr. Hill told me his pain had started slowly. First it was his knees, then his shoulders. He thought it was just getting older. But after a detailed diet review, I saw the red flag: very little fresh produce, especially citrus fruits or leafy greens. He mostly ate toast, canned soup, and microwaved meals. Sound familiar? I ordered a plasma vitamin C test for him. His levels were far below normal. Once we confirmed the deficiency, we started him on a simple regimen: 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C daily with meals. I told him it wouldn't be magic overnight, but to give it 2 to 3 weeks. By his next appointment, his pain had dropped by 70%. No more limping. No more heating pads on his joints at night. He actually laughed when he said, "Doctor, I haven't felt this good in years." Many seniors, like Mr. Hill, suffer quietly. They assume joint pain is just a part of life. But when it's caused by a deficiency, it's not permanent. It's fixable. That's why I always look deeper when someone tells me their joints hurt, but the scans don't explain it. Don't ignore the signs. Vitamin C could be the missing piece behind unexplained joint pain. For seniors especially, this simple nutrient can mean the difference between painful stiffness and comfortable active living. This is why I watch closely, because pain that's dismissed as just aging might actually be a silent cry for help, and it's one we can do something about. Sign number 6. Frequent infections or colds. Sign number 6 that I treat frequently is frequent infections or colds that just won't go away. It's more than someone getting sick a lot. It's about how long the sickness lasts and how weak their immune system seems to be. I see this all the time, especially in older adults. Take Mrs. Raymond, for example. She's 74 and lives alone. She came to me after battling what she thought was a cold for over 3 weeks. She'd already taken over-the-counter meds, rested, and even got antibiotics, but she still had a runny nose, low energy, and a cough that wouldn't let go. When I checked her lungs and vitals, nothing serious showed up. No pneumonia, no fever, just lingering symptoms that wouldn't quit. She told me this was the 3rd time in the past year she'd had something like this, always dragging on for weeks. That set off alarm bells for me. I asked about her diet. Lots of tea and toast, canned soup, not much fresh fruit or vegetables. She said she didn't like cooking anymore. Her daughter had offered to bring groceries, but she didn't want to be a burden. That's when I explained something important. Our immune system relies on vitamin C, like a car relies on fuel. Vitamin C powers white blood cells, the body's frontline defenders against viruses and bacteria. Without enough of it, the body can't mount a strong defense, and infections hang around much longer than they should. This is especially true in older adults, whose immune systems are already more fragile. I ordered a plasma ascorbic acid test for her. Her levels were shockingly low. We started her on a daily dose of 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and added more fresh fruit to her meals, even if it was just oranges and strawberries delivered weekly. 2 weeks later, Mrs. Raymond returned with a smile. "I think I finally beat it," she said. Not only had her cold cleared up, but she felt more energetic and even started walking daily again. That small change made a big difference. This is why I treat this sign so seriously. When a senior can't shake a cold, it might not be age, it might be a weak immune system caused by a simple nutritional gap. And it's one we can fix, quickly and safely. So if someone you love seems to always be sick, ask the bigger question. Don't just treat the symptoms. Look at what their body might be missing. It could be the difference between constant illness and a strong, resilient life.
Sign 7. Sudden tooth loss or severe dental problems.
One of the most urgent signs I look out for, especially in older adults, is sudden tooth loss or severe dental problems. It might sound like just a dental issue, but in my experience, it's often a sign of something much deeper. When someone walks into my clinic holding a tooth in their hand, I don't just send them to a dentist. I ask why that tooth came out in the first place. Let me tell you about Mr. Gopal. He was 69 and came in complaining of bleeding gums and loose teeth. One morning, while eating soft bread, one of his molars simply fell out. He looked terrified, and I could tell it wasn't just about the tooth. It was about losing control over his own body. Now, a healthy adult shouldn't lose teeth unless there's been long-term neglect or injury. But Mr. Gopal had been brushing regularly, no big cavities. So why were his gums so weak? Why did he feel pain in his jaw and get mouth sores that didn't heal? We ran some tests. His vitamin C levels were critically low. In fact, it was close to what we used to call scurvy in history books. Scurvy isn't just a sailor's disease. It's real and is returning in people who are malnourished, especially the elderly who live alone or skip fresh food. Vitamin C is essential for collagen, the protein that keeps gums, skin, and blood vessels strong. Without it, the tissues weaken. That's why Mr. Gopal's gums were bleeding, and his tooth came out without warning. It wasn't poor hygiene, it was a silent deficiency that had gone unnoticed. We started him immediately on high-dose vitamin C and shifted his diet. Within a few weeks, the bleeding stopped. His energy returned. But it was a close call. Left untreated, this could have turned into systemic infection or even sepsis. This is why sudden tooth loss is an emergency sign. It tells us something much bigger is happening in the body. It's not just the mouth, it's the immune system, the nutrition, and sometimes the heart and blood vessels too. So when I see dental problems that arrive suddenly, especially with no clear reason, I act fast. I ask more questions, because that one missing tooth might just be the first crack in the wall, and if we don't fix the foundation, the whole structure can fall.
Sign 8. Severe muscle weakness, especially in the legs. Sometimes the body whispers before it screams. One of the whispers I never ignore is severe muscle weakness in the legs. It may seem minor at first. Someone says they feel tired or they're tripping a little more than usual. But when they say, "I can't get out of a chair without using my arms," my ears perk up. This happened with Mrs. Rekha, a 72-year-old retired teacher. She was sharp, independent, and proud. One day, her daughter brought her in after she had fallen trying to stand up from the toilet. No broken bones, just bruises and a shaken spirit. "I just feel weak in the legs," she said quietly. I watched her try to stand from the examination table. She leaned heavily on her arms and looked scared. That's not just weakness, it's a signal. Legs are your body's foundation. When they go, mobility goes. And when mobility goes, independence disappears. I ran basic strength tests and asked about her daily routine. She'd stopped walking regularly due to knee pain, which led to muscle loss. She wasn't eating enough protein, but most alarmingly, she was on a diuretic, one that had drained her potassium levels to a dangerous low. Potassium isn't just about bananas. It controls how nerves talk to muscles. Without it, muscles can't contract properly.
That weakness she felt was her body trying to say, "Help me." We did a blood test and found her potassium at a critically low point, close to risking heart rhythm problems. We admitted her for monitoring and started correcting her electrolytes. I also adjusted her medication and sent her for physiotherapy. Within 2 weeks, she could stand and walk short distances on her own again. Her confidence returned, but more than that, she was safe. Severe muscle weakness in the legs isn't just a getting older thing. It can be the first sign of nerve damage, vitamin D deficiency, spine problems, or dangerous electrolyte imbalances. Sometimes it points to conditions like Guillain-Barré syndrome or spinal cord compression, both needing emergency care. So when someone tells me they feel weak in their legs, especially suddenly, I dig deeper. I test, I ask, I act fast. Because behind that weakness might be a ticking clock. The sooner we catch it, the better the outcome. In stories, the hero always rises again. In real life, they need strong legs to do it, and it's our job to make sure those legs get the strength and the care they need.
Sign number 9, petechial rash, tiny red or purple spots. It started with something small, just a few red spots on Mr. Shaw's lower legs. He was 65, active, and sharp-witted. He came in saying, "Doc, I think I bumped into the bed frame, but these spots won't go away." I took one look and knew this wasn't just bruising. This was a petechial rash. Petechia are tiny, flat red or purple spots, usually on the legs, and they don't fade when you press them. They're not caused by trauma alone. They often mean bleeding under the skin and can be a sign of something dangerous happening inside the body. In Mr. Shaw's case, the rash wasn't itchy. It didn't hurt, but it was spreading. He also felt more tired than usual. These weren't random dots. They were a warning sign. The body was whispering something serious. I asked him if he had any recent infections, fevers, or unusual bleeding. He paused and mentioned bleeding gums and one episode of nosebleed last week. That confirmed it. We needed to act fast. Petechia can be linked to serious conditions like low platelet counts, leukemia, sepsis, or autoimmune diseases like ITP, immune thrombocytopenic purpura. These aren't things you wait to see if they go away. We ran urgent blood tests, and sure enough, his platelet count was dangerously low. That meant his blood couldn't clot well. A minor cut could bleed for hours. A fall could lead to internal bleeding. His life was at risk. I admitted him immediately. The hematology team started treatment. It turned out to be a rare autoimmune condition, but we caught it just in time. A week later, the spots faded. But more importantly, Mr. Shaw learned to trust his body when something unusual appeared. For older adults, skin changes are common, but petechia are never something to ignore. They often show up on the legs first because of gravity and pressure on blood vessels, but their appearance means something beneath the surface may be breaking down, literally. If you or someone you know notices red or purple spots that don't fade when pressed, especially with fatigue, bleeding, or fever, don't wait. Get checked. Fast action can save a life. In medicine, not all danger looks loud. Sometimes it whispers in tiny red dots. You just have to know when to listen and when to run the tests that count. There's one simple test I often use with my older patients. I ask them to rise from a chair without using their hands. It may sound easy, but it reveals a lot. If someone struggles or sways, it tells me their leg strength or balance might be weakening. And that's where we start the real conversation. This one small action can help prevent future falls, identify early frailty, or hint at deeper issues like nerve damage or muscle loss. It's fast, free, and can be done anywhere, even at home. That's the beauty of it. No machines, just movement. From there, the solution doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's a simple home exercise routine. Sometimes a change in medication. Or maybe a referral to physical therapy. Each step is tailored to the person, not the chart. The goal is always the same: keep independence,
reduce risk, and help the patient live stronger, longer, and safer.
We've covered a lot, but remember, even small signs can point to bigger health issues. The sooner we catch them, the better the outcome. Especially for older adults, early detection can be the difference between staying independent or facing serious problems. You don't have to be a doctor to notice changes. Just pay attention to how you move, how you feel, and how things are changing. Listen to your body, trust your instincts, and most importantly, speak up if something doesn't feel right. If any of these signs sound familiar, don't wait. Book an appointment. Talk to a healthcare provider. Prevention and action start with awareness, and that starts with you. Share this video with someone you care about. It could help them spot a sign early, get help sooner, and live a longer, healthier life. You could be the reason someone gets better. Let's protect each other, one sign at a time.